حبايبي الليدر، صباح الفل. اخباركم ايه؟ طبعا نبدا بقى كده مع بعض. كامب مهم قوي. الكامب ده هيبقى الهدف منه ان احنا بنحط كل الجمل الممكنه في الامتحان تحت عينينا خلال الفتره اللي جايه. مطلوب من حضرتك تتابعني يوم بيوم يوم بيوم يوم بيوم في ميشن هقولها لك الصبح، اخر النهار في فيديو تقدر تتفرج عليهم مع بعض، تقسمهم زي ما انت عايز. من فضلك لا اهمال الفتره الجايه، لا اهمال الفتره الجايه. الامتحان عدى علينا وهيعدي علينا في الفترة اللي جاية. ذاكر كويس قوي، كل حاجة تفضل موجودة لغاية آخر يوم قبل الامتحان. عايز حضرتك مركز في كلمة كلمة هنقولها، مش في استفسار مش عاجبك حاجة ابعتلي على البيج على طول عشان نقدر نظبطها مع بعض. نسمي الله كده وامسك قلمك وتعالى نحل مع بعض. ليه نمسك القلم؟ عشان لو في عندي جملة عايز أراجع عليها مرة واتنين وتلاتة وأربعة هكتب رقمها في ورقة، وتبقى معنى كده إن أنا الحلقة دي كلها اتحطت في ورقة صغيرة كده. حلقة رقم واحد أنا محتاج منها واحد اتنين تلاتة أربعة. نسمي الله كده مع بعض وامسك القلم بتاعك نحل جملة قبل بعض. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أول حاجة a countess is a woman who has the same rank as a or an. تعالى كده نفكر مع بعض. counts دي مؤنث، جماعة كده ديوك مش هتنفع. داشس احتمال، زي ما اتفقنا نكمل للآخر. لورد استحالة، كاونت استحالة، لأن كلهم مذكر ما عدا كلمة إيه. برافو عليكم الداشس. He hardly ever went outside to get the newspaper. إيه ده؟ دي كلمات الستوري. أيوة الكلمات اللي إحنا خدناها في ستوري. تعالى كده نقول مع بعض. extend to يمتد إلى. accept يقبل. accept باستثناء. expect يتوقع. الله he hardly ever went outside except to باستثناء لو عايز يجيب الجريدة بتاعته. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius and at this changes to become a gas or stem. At this issue, point, part, matter. في عندنا expression خدناها at this point في هذه اللحظة، في هذه الحالة. Number 4. They fell to the ground and his sword was broken. Sword سيف يا swordsman. نكمل الباقي. business man ما تنفعش. chairman رئيس مجلس إدارة. craftsman رجل مهني وصنايعي. You count this opportunity to make new friends, explore new places, learn new things, and share the adventure of lifetime. You can't access مش ماشية خالص. miss دي بمعنى فوضى. miss دي يفوت حاجة. dismiss يطرد. طبعا miss letter C. He was an English diplomat who had served as a or an to 3 African countries. يا خدنا الاكسبريشن ده قبل كده. actor 2 طبعا لأ. soldier president ولا ambassador سفير ليه. The rent is reasonable and the location is perfect. The rent is reasonable and the location is perfect. بعمل هنا عملية addition إضافة. أيوة الحاجات اللي احنا خدناها في المقال. despite تعني العكس. moreover علاوة على ذلك. however مع ذلك تدي معنى العكس. although العكس. فأعتقد إن هي واضحة جدا. moreover وعلاوة على ذلك، إني بكمل على نفس الفكرة، بعمل addition إضافة بالعربي، بعطف بالعربي. She is waiting for the Italian to issue her a new passport so that she can fly back home. Italian برافو. firm شركة. factory مصنع. company صحبة أو شركة. embassy سفارة. The family gathered for an evening meal in the palace. The gathered for an evening meal in the palace. palace ده قصر. ترى royal family بتريال دي خيانة. actual حقيقي. annual سنوي. royal أكيد العائلة المالكة. She was of Queen Victoria who ruled England for 63 years. Adolescent طفولة. descend يهبط. descendants أحد أحفاد ولا ascend؟ أكيد descendant أحد أحفاد. The most moment of my life was when I married my wife. the most enjoying ولا joy ولا joyous ولا joyful joyfully آسف. the most enjoying moment والله ممكن joy لأ سعادة joyous فرح وسعادة joyful ده دي enjoying ده استمتاع مش هتنفع يبقى ما عنديش غير joyous the most joyous moment أسعد لحظة في حياتي she was dressed but she looked so sad خدنا expression ده fashionably dressed fashionable موضة fashion على الموضة fashion الموضة نفسها what was behind his neighbor's sudden friendliness he rendered لا مش نافع خالص rendered wondered يتساءل wandered يتجول ordered أكيد wondered letter P wondered بيتساءل إيه سر الحب المفاجئ من الجيران ده 14 test showed that Sarah was not infected with COVID-19 احنا اتفقنا مع بعض rather طبعا إلى حد ما بعيدة further و further قلنا further بتيجي المسافات further بتيجي للمسافات معنى المزيد من فعايزين نقول المزيد من التحاليل أثبتت يبقى further طبعا مش further لأن دي معناها ريشة he at us in disbelief as we told him what had happened struck stabbed stirred واضحة خالص stirred at us هو يحملق ينظر نظرة طويلة كده في دهشة أو تعجب أو صدمة Some of the injured were in need of hospital care رعاية A hunting is a house or hut in the country or in the mountains where people stay on holiday when they want to go hunting أيوة go hunting يبقى إيه برافو تبقى لوج بورصيد I spent the afternoon reading under the of a big tree ظل shade واضحة طبعا ما تنفعش degrade قلل من decade حقبة played حد This house is almost to the one where I lived as a child خدنا الاكسبريشن ده identical to مطابق ومماثل تماما ليه Chapter 2 The report contained criticism of the company's management style خدنا كلمة مهمة أوي tough criticism نقد حاد مش هتبقى كف كحة ذو على الرغم من أو through خلال Certain traits may be inherited from our parents authority سلطة أكيد لأ personality احتمال كبير captivity أسر clarity يبقى هي personality بعض ملامح الشخصية The castle was surrounded by a moat with access only available through a برافو drawbridge كوبري متحرك average طبعا متوسط bandage ضمادة courage عربية حنطور It will cost millions of pounds to build a like this one million of pounds يبقى كان عن مبنى كبير مبنى كبير أكيد مش cottage ولا hut ولا tent خيمة mention قصر كبير People wonder why she is digging a around her house واحنا قلنا around بيحيط بالمكان فايه اللي ممكن يحيط بالمكان very good أكيد موت خندق من الماء موت خندق من الماء Oh my god look at Tom he is his father's double شبيه باباه زي ما قلنا رودolf ريزندل is the double of Rudolf Alphabet A nurse will take your and the blood pressure every 30 minutes. You will then be taken back to the ward اللي هو العنبر to continue recovery. Your watch ولا pulse money wallet pulse نبض هتقيس النبض بتاع حضرتك. The clock through the minute of a half hour and it was getting dark. Ticked through the minutes ولا tricked ولا trapped ولا tripped. Of course ticked اللي هو صوت الساعة. الدقة المنتظمة والحركة المنتظمة لدراع الساعة تك تك فبنسميه ticked The fans as their team scored the first goal. The fans cheered. حالة فرح شديد. I am to know you have such a confidence in me. I am adapted to لا طبعا adjusted to متظبط على استحالة delighted to سعيد جدا بثقة حضرتك appointed يعني عيني. You must me if I remind you that this is a useless discussion. You must forgive تسامحني foretell يتنبأ بيه forget ينسى forbid يمنع forgive me سامحني المناقشة دي ملهاش أي لازمة ده معنى الجملة. Let's go to the rest of chapter 2. 32. Or not. You like it? I'm going out tonight. Whether عاجبك or not أو مش عاجبك أنا خارج النهاردة. It's an old computer but it will for now. Do for now. Will do يعني هيكفيني اليومين دول. It will do for now. After reviewing a of honor, the president spoke to the press. يا ترى إيه بقى؟ After reviewing a of honor, the president spoke to the press. يا ترى لما الرئيس يجي يتحدث مع حد هيبقى يا ترى soldier ولا guard captain colonel؟ أكيد colonel. I down and picked up the coins lying on the road. Dealt, lent, sent, pen down. William was king of England in 1066. Crowned, bravo, تم تتويج. It's my first holiday for 2 years, so I'm going to the most of it. Make the most of it استغل كل وقت فيها. Make the most of something. مش موجود. To put down some bait to kill the rats. Bait اللي هو طعام. يا ترى enriched ولا fashioned ولا seasoned متبل ولا poisoned؟ أكيد poisoned. There was an of surprise on her face. Expression of surprise. The hurricane will reach the island this evening. Residents are being evacuated. في نفس التوقيت يبقى meanwhile في نفس اللحظة. طبعا في بعض الكلمات ممكن تكون تايهة من حضرتك من الستوري عشان كده وظيفة الاكسرسايز ده إن يرجعك في expressions مهمة لازم تحفظها. Ali has been a worker in this company for almost 50 years. 50 years. Bilingual ثنائي اللغة trial محاولة loyal worker ولا royal أكيد loyal worker مخلص. I needed to talk with someone who was very smart, someone who I absolutely trusted. أثق تماما فيه. It's a difficult race. About 1,000 runners participate every year. Hopeless, worthless لا يستحق. Meaningless لما nevertheless مع ذلك برافو. Nevertheless كلمات مهمة أوي. Nevertheless meanwhile. The airport was full of relatives waiting nervously for news of the missing plane. The airport was full of anxious, conscious, obvious, precious relatives. Waiting nervously يعني بتوتر يبقى anxious relatives. My secretary will bring the papers forward this afternoon. Sign, simple, signature, signal. صعبة. Sign إشارة مكتوبة. Simple رمز. Signature توقيع. Signal إشارة ضوئية. يبقى signature. متحيرش نفسك. The secret room could only be accessed through a in the wall. الكلمة دي جميلة جدا. Panel in the wall. قلنا panel باب سري كده خفي غير واضح للعين عشان هي secret room. The man was said to have escaped through an underground excellent passage. Passage ممر. بس هيبقى مسج ولا average ولا package. في جملة بتبقى شارحة نفسها ولازم أقرأ الجملة للآخر. أتأكد إن الباقي ما ينفعش. 49 she to her deeper that she thought the play was too long. She whispered تهمس يعني aspired تلهم aspired تطلع إلى respired respired هو عيد التنفس في حياة of she. When I opened the book I saw that several pages had been out. sworn لأ James weird يتورم porn يتحمل porn يولد torn مظلم torn out زي torn handkerchief في الستوري. The room was completely dark save for one والنبي نفتكر كلمة save for باستثناء ها زي except for save for باستثناء one burning in the corner one burning handle أكرة candle شمعة scandal فضيحة bundle دي بتبقى مجموعة أشياء مع بعض فأكيد candle. He was in a difficult after losing a lot of money gambling. He was in a difficult position. I can say. Don't let the kids out of your for a second. أو الأولاد يبعدوا عن نظرك دقيقة واحدة أهو نظرك يبقى sight أكيد مش رايت ارتفاعك فرايت خوفك sight ضيق. This money is just a drop in the ocean to what's needed for the project. الفلوس دي قطرة في بحر احنا محتاجين فلوس كتير قوي المشروع بتاعنا. Very good. Compared to people the streets outside the theater to see the famous actor. الناس مكتظة في الشوارع line the streets. The two countries are to signing peace agreement are close to على وشك. closed مغلق closing يغلق closure إغلاق. This young actor appears at the opening of the film. هذا الممثل بيظهر بشكل مختصر جدا في افتتاح الفيلم. accurately بدقة briefly باختصار costly مكلف critically أكيد briefly. The patients experienced knew from their symptoms. The patient experienced no relief لما شعروا بأي نوع من أنواع الراحة من الأعراض المصابين بيها. My hands were so much I could hardly write my name on the exam paper. Shaking. Close the door quietly. You please. Behind you. في الباب وراك. People often feel after a divorce انفصال. They wish they hadn't ended their marriage. optimistic متفائل happy سعيد loyal مخلص guilty حس بالذنب. There were some about the suitability of the job. Some doubts شكوك. That of developing lung cancer from smoking is a serious one. probable محتمل possible ممكن risk خطر dangerous خطير the risk of. It's complete. You needed to dig a hole in order to plant your tree. A spade ظروف. Through the between the trees I could see a river in the distance. Through the gap الفجوة. I promise to carry out to the best of my ability. I promise to carry out my duties. penalties عقوبات dates تواريخ duty ملهمش دعوة بالموضوع أصلا. Publication of those would harm the national interest. Publication of those documents نشر هذه الوثائق طبعا moments دقايق monuments آثار responsibilities مسؤوليات يعني ملهمش علاقة بالموضوع irrelevant. Management and the unions have reached in their negotiations. Neither side was willing to compromise. Compromise يتنازل. الكلمة دي مهمة جدا 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 جدا. Stalemate وضع ثابت. Stalemate لا هقدر أتقدم خطوة ولا أرجع خطوة. Stalemate ده زميلي في الزنزانة بعد الشر. Checkmate لما أجي أثبت لك الملك بتاعك في الشطرنج. classmate صديقي في الفصل. فهي stalemate وضع ثابت لن يتزحزح. لن آخد خطوة ولا هو ياخد خطوة. You have an opportunity to do something different and original. You have opportunity to do something different and original. You have amended ولا splendid ولا added ولا afforded. A splendid opportunity فرصة جميلة فرصة جيدة. أدي طبعا يضيف afford يتحمل نفقات amend يصلح ملهمش علاقة. Her are demanding a 5 million pound sterling ransom تعويض. Here kidnappers ولا campers plumpers gatekeepers أكيد kidnappers المختطفين طالبين 5 مليون جنيه فدية أو تعويض. فهنا تبقى فدية. The events of the past week have and saddened us all. صدمتنا وزعلتنا. أكيد مش shaded ولا shouted ولا shocked. The boy was off his bike by a car while cycling with another child. يا ترى pooped ولا ticked ولا knocked ولا plugged. Very good. knocked off. وقع اتخبط. He was after running up the stairs. قطعت على السلم breathless مش قادرة تاخد نفسها. hopeless لا أمل فيه. brainless بلا عقل. useless بلا فايدة. There was a on the door but he didn't open it. A knock. In court he too lying about the accidents. To ing decided to lie لأ. denied ing على طول. adapted to يتكيف ليه. admitted to admitted to يعني اعترف بأنه كان بيكذب. admitted to. The house was heavily and no one was allowed to leave. guarded ذو حراسة جيدة. I that these machines will soon be beyond repair. I fear خايف لا يكون الآلات دي. She's a very author. Although personally I find her books rather boring. She's a very popular. Uh, we should help and each other during the COVID-19 pandemic. We should support. ندعم. When I paid my debts, I felt as if a great financial burden had been lifted from my shoulders. سقط من على كتفي. أكيد مش legs مش knees مش ears. Mona finally agreed, somewhat, to go and see a doctor. Reluctantly يعني متغصبة كده. Reluctantly على مضض. Somewhat reluctantly. reluctantly وافق على مضض. متغصب. By her own fears she never left the house. Imprisoned في السجن. imprisoned. By her own fears. prisoner imprisonment. imprisoned by. تشعر أن أفكارها بتسجنها مسجونة داخل إطار أفكارها أو مخاوفها. Drinking coffee inhibits the absorption of from your diet. Iron حديد كعنصر غذائي. Iron دي مكوي. Irons مكاوي. Ironing يكوي فمش هتيجي أكيد. You get the garden through. Windows at the back of the house. French windows. French windows اتفقنا نوع من أنواع الشبابيك. مفيش حاجة اسمها Egyptian windows ولا Libyan windows ولا Syrian windows. The strike was seen as a direct challenge to the of the government. Authority سلطة الحكومة. Author مؤلف. Authorization authorization أنا عندي القدرة إن أنا أعمل حاجة. عندي الability إن أنا أعمل حاجة. مصرح لي إن أنا أعمل شيء. authoritative برضه نفس الحكاية. الadjective منها. Recent years cycling has grown in creativity, identity, celebrity, popularity. أصبح أكثر شهرة. They are nice boys, so we tend to forgive them their bad behavior. Occasional bad behavior. Magdi is the right person for the job. Definitely. They should erect a to him for his great achievement. A statue تمثال يعملوا تمثال لإنجازاته. She gave the driver to her house directions. اتجاهات البيت إيه. Witnesses are reminded of their duty to the truth when questioned in court. Tell the truth ولا say the truth. Tell the truth طبعا حتى مفيش say. Winter often with it more rain, snow, ice, and wind brings with it يجلب معه. He decided to resign from his as a prime minister position. Canto. No one to notice that he had left early. Seemed to notice. واضح مفيش حد لاحظ. The old man looked so my grandfather, so looked like. Today is a day we'll remember for the of our life, rest of our life. At the north of this avenue there is a house in a large garden. At the end في نهاية هذا المكان. To cross there you will need a valid passport. Border. Please step back. The door opens outwards. ناحية الخارج. Outwards. They heard in the main room beyond the door footsteps. وقع أقدام. It's important to your skin from the harmful effects of the sun. Protect. In Japan, people become adults when they turn 20. People legally بشكل قانوني. legal قانون lawful محب للقانون illegal غير قانوني. He down before the king and begged for mercy. He down bowed down ينحني. This kind of behavior is far from any children of this age. This kind of behavior is far from بعيد عن unusually unusual بعيد in children of this age. From usual بعيد عن المعتاد. He claims to be distinctly related to the British loyal family ولا royal family أكيد royal family العائلة المالكة. Tamer is a son. He really does everything he should do. Really does نادرا ما بيفعل. يبقى إنسان he really does بيفعل كل حاجة ولا نادرا ما يفعل. أيوة التانية rarely. خلي بالك فدي really does يعني فعلا بيعمل كل حاجة مطلوبة منه. فبنسميه dutiful son ابن مطيع مدرك لواجباته. You worried. What is the matter? You look worried. شكلك كده قلقان. If they insist on going, no be it, to be it, do be it, so be it. أكيد so be it وليكن. So be it ده expression كده وليكن. وهو كذلك بقى. It's more than that the United Kingdom will be the most prosperous economy in Europe. It's more than possible. احتمال محتمل بنسبة كبيرة. The statue in one of the main squares stands. A of mine would like to sell his old car. A relative of mine. أحد أقاربي. He was prisoner in Germany for over a year. He was held prisoner. He told me he owned a in Spain that I fell for it. He told me he owned a mansion ولا mission ولا motion mention يذكر بس دي own يعني يمتلك. أيوة مش have a mission. برافو مفوق يبقى mention. I'm sorry if I said anything about you bad. Say something bad يقول شيء سيء عنه. He was jailed for 15 years for his wife to death, stabbing his wife to death. It is to make other people suffer. It is wicked شرير، لكن تنفع shocking مش shocked شخص مصدوم. Looking at the state of his car, it is that he wasn't killed. It was not that he wasn't killed. It was a miracle. لما بص على عربيته لا إله إلا الله طلع بمعجزة من العربية. Was accused of his country during the war. بيخون بلده. أيوة فاكرينها طبعا betray his country. نركز chapter 7 و 8 أيوة الله يبارك لكم. The referee blew to end the game whistle صفارة. The medicine helps to the symptoms of COVID-19 relief يقلل منه. We had tea and we sat in the garden for a while. Afterwards بعد ذلك there has been a change in government policy towards the around the castle made it too difficult to attack it. اتفقنا موت. He used the air to climb down into the water. روب حبل. أنهي واحدة دي ولا دي؟ أيوة روب حبل. روب دي زي أو فستان. He was slowly and deeply. It was clear that he was asleep. Was breathing. واحد بيتنفس ببطء. Don't use seatbelt until the car has stopped completely. Don't unfasten. يفتح. The story was narrated by a man with a French accent. لكنة. The doctor saw the man's mask was on his chin and asked him to it up. Rise it up ولا pull it up. The doctor saw the man's mask was on his chin and asked him to bravo pull it up. rise يرفع من غير up مش هتبقى rise دي هتبقى raise عشان rise ما تاخدش مفعول برافو. She was killed by a single to the head. Shoot طلقة. He backed to avoid the blow. He stepped back تراجع للخلف تجنب الضربة. He found out that the collection was worth thousands of dollars. He lately مفيش lately. He later found out فيما بعد. أمال later آخر من ذكر في الكلام. زي ما اتفقنا I met عمر and رامي. The latter is an engineer يبقى رامي. later ده آخر من ذكر في الكلام. I have a visit from an important Chinese businessman. I received from لكن made a visit to. I wrote a letter of complaint and the company promised to into the matter. Look into يفحص الأمر. When I saw my friend I quickly up with him. Caught up with him. يلحق بي. The authorities let some prisoners go free. يحرر. Let some prisoner go free. لكن set someone free من غير let. I asked him to help me, but he just ahead and said nothing. Looked ahead. He was arrested for working against. She and cried out in pain, moaned, يتأوه, يتألم. He was out of the window and almost fell out, leaning out. You are to stop that? Do you hear me? Nonsense. The man dashed forward and his sword at the guard struck. يضرب. At the next, there was a loud cry and the women jumped out of the window. At the next moment, opening the door, myself in a dark room, I found myself. Found did you access? That led into a dark, empty corridor which was very long. the steps السلالم. She quickly the door and ran away. uh, and ran away. أكيد unlock the door فتح الباب وطلعت تجري. The man was heavily imprisoned, sitting with his head bowed in despair. Chained in prison. chained يعني لابس سلاسل مسلسل مقيد بسلاسل. The thief played a to rob the old man of his money. Trick. I needed a for the cut on my head. Bandage. ضمادة. ربطة من الشاش. He to us from the train carriage. Waved. يلوح لي. I advised John not to buy such an old car, but he ignored me. تجاهل نصيحتي يعني. He used his to help his family members to get jobs. Position. We must work harder for the of our country. Good. خير بلدنا. They found the man dead in his room and informed the police. Lying. مش هتبقى dying dead أكيد يعني. The secret agent asked us to the secret about who he really was. Guard. When he saw us, he behind a big tree. Hid. The woman had been to death by her husband. By her husband أكيد beaten to death. ضربها حتى الموت. ضرب أفضى إلى الموت. We'll never how you have helped us. We'll never forget. هنفضل فاكرين. The news of this victory was with much joy. Greeted with. تقبلها الناس أو تلقاها الناس بكثير من الفرح. كده يا جماعة احنا حلينا حوالي 160 جملة على الستوري. الفوكاب بتاع الستوري مهم جدا، ده انكلودد في الامتحان. أعتقد دي معظم الكلمات اللي موجودة في الستوري مهمة لازم نكون عارفينها. تتفرج على الفيديو ده مرة واتنين وتلاتة لأن تتقن الكلمات. عندك أي ملحوظة، عندك أي حاجة عايز تسأل عليها، ابعتلي على الجروب على طول وهتلاقيني برد عليك. ربنا معاك ويوفقكم يا رب. أشوفكم على خير بكرة بإذن الله. متنساش كل يوم في فيديو جديد، كل يوم في عندنا ميشن جديدة.